It's not that we exist, but how we exist. That is a problem. Do you see that? So there's enough space in, say, if we went like North Canada or south of side of Canada, like just on the border and kind of northern states, excuse me, and we took a chunk of land the size of, say, Canada or US, which is small. Like Africa and South America are way bigger. Like the map, what we see the map look like isn't quite accurate. America's not like that. It's not that huge. Anyhow, we could all fit 8 billion people. Could all fit right there, and you know we might have to take some extra space for some farming and stuff. But technically, if we were to, and I've said this for a while now, if you were to build a skyscraper in, this would work in like Africa. It would work anywhere, but you build a skyscraper, and then you take this X floor is your grow floor, and you put mirrors all around the outside of the building that kind of follow the sun, just like solar panels do, and shine back in on other mirrors, and you light it up, and you make that whole floor into a big grow room. And then just above that, you have your maintenance floor, which is usually a lower ceiling, but it's got all your plumbing and your piping and your electrical and your anything that you're going to need running for the whole floor on that floor. And then your next floor would be another grow room, and then another maintenance floor, and another grow room, and another maintenance floor, and so on and so forth. And then when you get to the ceiling, you fill it with solar panels and a huge water reservoir. Drill a well, obviously, but you'd pump the water up to the reservoir and then drop it down to the building and into each floor, into the maintenance floors, and then you'd feed them from the ceiling down rather than trying to pump water up and get the pressure to pump it out at the shower. All from the ground up. You go from the ground up, fill the reservoir, and then down, and then as the reservoir drops, you pump water into it. So anyways, and that's just how hotels were, any skyscrapers all work that way, water wise. So then say the building's 2 acres or whatever. Well, now you just got, and it's 50 grow room floors. Well, now you've just got 50 acres from that one. So you got an acre of, or 2 acres, 2 acres. So you just got 100 acres from that 2 acres. And then so the bottom floor is like tomatoes or whatever. The next floor is corn. The next floor is fucking hay. And the next floor is whatever, right? It would work, I guess. Now, it would make perfect sense to put solar up there as well, or wind. Sorry, I mean turbines, because you're way up. You know, you could put them all down the north side of the building, for that matter, because there's no point in putting mirrors over there. You're not going to get any sun. And then you're using the sun with the mirrors to light the plants, so you're not really needing grow lights so much. You know, you'd have to have some, I'm sure, especially like if you were forcing longer days, right? Like if it's in the wintertime, you'd use the sun when you can, but then when the sun went down or whatever. It like, I know here the sun goes down at supper time, 4 o'clock, right? You only got 8 hours of sunlight all day, at the worst of the winter. So you'd have to click the lights on for the other 4 hours at least to do your finish season, and then if you were doing a grow season, you'd have to have the lights on for 8 more hours. But you'd still get a bunch of lighting for free, and if it was a cloudy day or shitty out, whatever, here or there, you'd obviously need to have it rigged up with lights as well. But you wouldn't need those lights all the time, and in the summertime you'd hardly need those lights, and you'd coin it or feed the whole community, and the whole community could work there. So there's their housing paid for while they grow their food or whatever. Like, our society's so messed up. We think that happiness is something it's like my dad. He always wanted to be rich. He didn't care how he got rich. He just wanted to be rich. As a child, I kind of seen that as yeah, sure, right. But it's so complicated to spill this all out for. Being rich just to be rich, so that you can be lazy and hang out and do nothing all the time, isn't going to fulfill you. The doing nothing is going to be drugs and alcohol related, or is going to cost so much that you'd never be able to fucking keep up with it. Like, if it's yachts and fucking private jets and this and that, whatever, expensive ladies, things of this nature, the money, you'd need just endless supplies, right? And you're still never going to be like feeling fulfilled. Not like our ancestors felt, because and we could actually have, like, our ancestors had the fulfillment part, but they had these hard lives, right? So it was, at the end of the day, you know, you owned your house, you owned your property, you owned your farm. Everything that you worked on was for your family all day. It was your animals and your you know what I mean, and your community and your lifestyle, right? So everything was fulfilling, but it was hard as fuck, right? So then you had like slaves and shit, but we could be doing it now with our technology and the tractor and all that kind of stuff that we have. We could all be doing that, living that fulfilled and having actual happiness as well. Like if it gets too easy, you're just bored. Unless you have like an endless supply of money or whatever. You want stuff to do, things to accomplish, projects around the property, things like this. But so if we existed, instead of working on your perfect lawn, everybody worked on their perfect gardens and had your chickens in the backyard and all this. and owned your homes and then went to work. As younger people, see, some people are just naturally driven to want to city dwell and whatever. Um, but our power structure's got to go. See, if we had the option to go and live a good life, happy and free and under God, um, so many people would choose that they wouldn't have enough slaves to keep the 1% in this super rich luxury lifestyles. So they got to go first, kind of thing. Like that lifestyle of people living ultra rich yet miserable lives. That's unnecessary. And to make somebody super rich and famous just for acting, but you're just playing games. You're being a child as an adult and getting paid like a king. It doesn't make sense. And then the mentality of these people is low to begin with, but destroyed along the way by all this rich and fame and money and shit going to their heads, right? They become this weirdos. You could say I'm a weirdo on the other side of the spectrum, but anyway, I believe there is a balance there. So anyhow, like I was saying, it's not that we exist, but how we exist. So, and then that's just like a microcosm of it, that we could all exist comfortably in a small part of the earth. And we could, if we wanted, you could say we could all go back to like Asia, Africa, every single person, leave the American continents all together and go back home. None of us were born here. None of us are from here, right? I've proven that before, that like even the Native Americans and the Mexicans and all that shit, they walked here from over there. They just got here first, right? But they didn't like magically appear here. We all came from Noah's boat. We all came from over there. So we could all go back over there, live comfortably over there, and leave this whole continent empty for just the animals. Especially with the technology and the shit we can do. Because we can grow anything and everything we need back over there. And like a lot of what we can do with the simplest, like hemp, we can build 90% of everything that we do with hemp. I seen a house that was like, it was all framed and skeleton. It didn't have siding on it yet. And I don't know if it had roofing material or whatever, but it was all sheeted in, framed and standing, 2-story house, and all the holes were cut out and you could, for the windows and doors to go in. The entire thing was hemp. And I've seen the same with bamboo and shit like this, right? So we can break things down and make composites and all that. And we don't need plastics and stuff. Again, we can use different things like hemp. We don't necessarily even need fossil fuels. We can use water. We can use hemp. We have all these other options. There was a guy who built an airplane entirely out of hemp that burned hemp and could fly around. He just built it. I can look it up. I forget what it was. Maybe 6 years ago or something. 5 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Anyway, entire airplane was built with hemp and burns hemp. Flies around, right? So it's like, it's only so that we can have that super rich class. That's the only reason that the world suffers and that man suffers and we suffer, people suffer. That's the only reason. It's just for that 1%, just that rich, super rich class. The rest, everything else could go smooth if it wasn't for them. Those, the greedy, right? And the politicians are the greedy, right? They're there for a reason. So if we just changed a couple little things about what we do and how we do things, then our existence wouldn't be a problem. And then we talk about climate change and shit. Well, again, I just explained it all with hemp. Like, we don't even need plastic. We wouldn't be filling the ocean with plastic bottles. We could make plastic hemp bottles that biodegrade in 3 years. Anyway, the fossil fuel thing and the plastics thing and everything that we do, there's an alternative, and we've already got it. We could be burning water cars since way back, right? But it's the profiting of that rich class that needs to happen, the oil moguls that won't let us get to that next step because they want to keep the rich and the powerful powerful. So it's all minute changes that we need to make just here and there in order to totally fix this world. And then, yes, that's where I was going. So we're told that our cars and our trucks and all this stuff are what making climate change. Well, no, that's a lie. See, what causes, if there is such a thing, and there is subtle climate changes. Now there's natural climate change, but then I'm sure that there's a man-made climate change going on right now, for sure, 100%. But so our factories, first off, in this country are under, and in America and in first world countries, have to have like filters and brushes and all this kind of stuff on all their smokestacks in order to make sure that their fumes are really, really clean. So our rich class, our millionaires, buy stuff from overseas where they don't have those regulations. So they buy these dirty products, ship them over here really cheap in dirty ships, and then sell them to us and tell us that we're the problem. Well, no, your greedy ass is the problem, because you just fuck off with your profits a little bit, open factories up around this country, bringing the money back to this country, right? And all the production back to this country, so all the jobs back to this country, and everything would balance out price-wise and all that shit for the consumer, because we'd have better jobs and shit. It just wouldn't work out for that rich class. Right? Do you see it? So then they say, we gotta fight climate change by spraying the fucking air full of chemicals and putting up HARP stations that shoot intense radioactive waves into the fucking atmosphere in order to attract and make clouds and shit. The billionaires in Dubai and places like this pay for these guys to run their HARP technology all around there and make it rain every month, no matter what. So when they do that there, sure, it's great for their climate, but it is fucking up everything everywhere else. And then they tell you that it's your fault. How stupid are you? I'm sorry, but you got to be fucking brain dead if you believe these people. It's not your fault. It's not our fault for existing or wanting to drive a car or go on vacation. It's fucking nothing. Your carbon footprint is nothing, right? And cows eating beef and shit, that's nothing. Zero fucking carbon footprint. Dickheads. Lying scumbags. So, again, it isn't that we exist, it's how we exist. So we just need to change that 1%. We just need to stop having super rich people. The queen and shit like that, like the royal families and all this. It's just got to stop. Fucking big money families all over the world, the big oil fucking moguls and shit. You don't own that fucking oil. God put that in the fucking earth. I don't give a shit if you own the piece of land or the drill and you got to it first or whatever. It doesn't make you own it. You just pumped it out. We'll pay you for your services. If somebody else wants to come and put a fucking another well pump right beside you, go fuck yourself. We'll pay them if they're better at it or if they're cheaper or whatever. Nobody owns any of it. Nobody owns anything on this earth. None. Nobody. Right? So when they sell you something, who are they to sell it to you? So, to begin with, right? Now, obviously, we've made a society and all this other stuff so that people can own things, so that you can say, you know, I've staked this as my farm, or what, this is where I'm going to live, and so it's mine now, and I'm going to protect it. And then we pay taxes so that we get protection from the police, kind of thing. But then they tax the property so that they can take it from you at any given time and all this other shit, and tell you that your ownership is based on what they say. You're not God. We've elected you. You're a servant. It's right in your title. Civil servant. I don't care if you're a politician or a cop or DMV or teacher or whatever. You work for us. If you work for any type of government agency, you work for us that pay taxes. You don't pay taxes. You get paid in taxes. Then they dick you around and tax you again. I get that. It's weird. But none of it was your money to begin with. You put labor and service into the country, but you didn't put any money into it. They took my money in order to give you a job. Right? So you work for us. Servants. Anyway, yet Trudeau, for example, just gave himself another raise, I believe, and then they went on strike looking for more raises. But he makes like $400,000 a year, which is unheard of in Canada. It's a fucking insane amount of money. Plus, he gets all these perks. Politicians get perks through the fucking eye. Most of them they don't even use. Like they get like free buses, and free movie theaters, and free museums, and free just all this shit. And half of it, they're not getting on the bus. So we're paying the bus company to give that politician a bus card that he's never ever going to use. Feel like your money's being well spent? So, fuck, such simple changes could fix this whole country easily without drastic change like I've been talking about. Like that's a pretty drastic change to change the whole fucking world and society. But even to just fix Canada within itself and keep it running, it's simple. You make it illegal for politicians to fucking be within the stocks, especially stocks that they're manipulating, and then their families as well. And you keep an eye on that kind of shit. If your family is in the stock market, they're going to be fucking constantly audited about what you're doing and what stocks they're investing in while you're making decisions on those same stocks. And make sure that there's no inside trader shit going on. And then no charities at all. If I want to donate to a charity, I'll donate my money to a charity. Politicians, none. No charities. The Canadian government cannot give any money to any charities at all. Full stop. That on top of all that we have like an IRS kind of thing, and they're constantly auditing people at random or at whatever, not so random, and so we just take that entire force and they audit all government files every 10 years. And every government official gets a full audit every 10 years. And if you're found guilty of whatever, money laundering or insider trading or any of these things, then you're tried with treason and made an extreme example of in that, I think, military prison, because those are the guys that you screw over the most. Like those guys give their lives when they sign up for the military and stuff, and then you politicians just lie and cheat, steal, and send them and treat them like they're just machines to be sent into war, and their lives are just like, oh well, that one broke down, oh this one crippled now, that, and then you just throw them aside and forget about them. It's disgusting. And so you go right into the general population with them guys, the worst of them guys, who are fucking thrown into military prison for whatever reason. And I don't think you're going to have a very good time. And I don't think politicians are going to screw around after that. They're going to learn a lesson, and they're going to say, nah, screw that. When some pharmaceutical or banker or whatever approaches them with this bribes and I want to cut this forest down or whatever, no way, buddy. No way. That's got to go through the proper channels. I'm not taking your fucking bribe money or your loan or your fucking none of that shit. No, get away from me. Look what happened to what's his name who did that. And you know and you make sure that it's remembered, right? Because I think we find a Bolson, that's what it's called, and who's good with a whip, right? So let's say Trudeau, for example, he gave billions of dollars or millions of dollars to this charity that is all of his family worked for, and they extorted all this money out of it and flew all over the world and went on all these trips and did all this stuff, and then he dicked around and screwed around with the political things and got away with it. Screwed with the ethics, and now he's changed in the ethics counselor into another family member of his. So just that alone, and then giving himself a raise during COVID, and then just after COVID, giving himself another raise as the country goes into extreme debt, and he's doing a horrible job and taking away rights and talking about China, letting China bring troops over here and training them and shit, and leaving all these hidden Chinese police fucking forces all over Canada and just not even talking about it and fucking sweeping it under the rug and shit. All of that, okay, so I say 10 years in prison and 10 lashes. So you take them up to whatever the square in Ottawa is, and you set it all up with all the video cameras and CBC and everybody there to watch, and this Bolson comes out with his whip, and Justin with, I don't care, you can leave your shirt on, but no coat. And he gets 10 lashes from a professional. Leaving scars on his back, the whole length of his back, that deep in. And then you go to prison for 10 years. That's an example made. And speaking of which, if you steal from somebody, you go break into your neighbor.